We had Ernie Lavender. Georgia was his recruiting territory. That is how we were able to get the first large group of black teachers in Fort Wayne, was through that recruiting effort. And that was the brainchild of Miss Oberlin, who was in charge of employment at that time. We've never had an abundance of black teachers in Fort Wayne Community Schools. Today, we're fortunate to have a black superintendent, but we are very lacking of black teachers in Fort Wayne Community School System.
Why?
We are lacking because the pay has not been good. And blacks were working in the factories, making much more money working in factories and other jobs than teachers were paid. Because the first year I started teaching, my salary for the entire year was $3,600, and I still have that contract. And there were people working in industry and other factories in other areas. They made twice as much money. So one thing about teaching is that, you know, it's stability. It's good stability, but the pay has not been good. So I think that is one reason. And we've not had too many teacher colleges in the North. Most of our teacher colleges have been in the South, and that is where we had to go to recruit to bring teachers here. Now, Ball State does have a teachers program, but most of our northern colleges did not specifically, you know, aim and thrust towards having an abundance of teacher graduates.
So why did you want to be a teacher?
Why did I want to be a teacher? I never wanted to be a teacher. I wanted to be an attorney. And the only reason that I ended up being a teacher was because my course in life was just a little bit different than most people's course of life was. I went back to college at the age of 27. I had been out of college for some time. I had attended Wilberforce University, and Wilberforce lost their accreditation while I was there. And so I did complete that year, but for the next year I dropped out of college. I went to New York. I studied drama at the Negro American Theater, and I met my husband and I got married. And we came back to Fort Wayne, and I had a child. And when I had my child, my husband said, I was working at GE. And he told me he did not want me to work in the factory. I need to go back to school. So I went back to Wilberforce to college at the age of 27.
Now, was he still knocking folks out at that time?
Oh, my husband has been a professional fighter, but he had an injury, and that's why we left New York to come to stay in Fort Wayne. He had an injury to his thumb and he could no longer fight, so we came for a vacation. He loved Fort Wayne. He thought this was the land of milk and honey, and he decided he was going to stay here, and he got a job at GE. So his fighting career had ended early on.
Now, did you ever see him fight?
Oh, yes, I saw him fight in the Boston Gardens and everything. He was quite outstanding. He was a fourth contender for the lightweight champion. He was a very outstanding, very good fighter. But you know, in those days, people didn't make the money that they make today. And black guys had a very, very hard time. All their managers were white. And sometimes they even had to take a fall or to throw a fight in order to get a fight. And I know all about the dirty politics in boxing too. It was very difficult for black guys. But anyhow, he was excellent. He was very outstanding, but he never reached his full potential.
Well, and one more thing on him. When you were sitting back in the stands watching him fight, how did you feel?
Great. Great. I felt so great among the audience, the crowd, because if we were in Asbury Park, New Jersey, or wherever we were, and he had to fight mostly white guys. I was always the one up there rooting for him, and everybody was looking at me like I was crazy, you know. I was sitting among them and rooting for him and everything. I felt real great. I felt just like I was a special person because nobody knew my connection with him. But it was a very special connection because we were married.
Well, but back here in Fort Wayne, why, when you first went to the classroom, did you have any misconceptions as to what it would be like teaching kids, especially black kids?
Yes, I really did, because I was the first black teacher hired at McCulloch School. And because I was the first black teacher hired at McCulloch School, they thought because I was a black, I had an answer to all the problems. So they gave me all the problem kids in second and third grade. I was hired to teach second, but they decided to give me a split grade. So I had all the discipline problems from the second and all the discipline problems from the third mixed together. I got in that classroom and I could not believe, what I had experienced and the behavior. So I went to the principal. I'm just a brand new teacher, spanking brand new, and I went to the principal and I told her that I had been hired to teach second grade, and they had given me a split grade, second and third. And not only had they given me a split grade, but they gave me all the difficult cases. And I told her that I was not going to teach. I was going to leave that school and find another job. I refused to teach. They were just appalled that a brand new teacher had the nerve to approach authority and tell them exactly what she felt. And you know what? I ended up with the regular second grade class. I had a lot of discipline problems. I really had a lot of discipline problems. And just being a very, very new teacher, it was really rough. And I said, if I can make it through this first year, I'm through with education. I'm getting out of the classroom. I don't want to be a teacher. But I made it through the first year, which was the roughest year that I had ever had in my life. And I had some discipline problems. And today, those kids with discipline problems grew up to be troublesome kids all through their life. And I've tracked a few of them even now, and there's still discipline problems, and they have had children that are discipline problems. But nevertheless, my first year of teaching was very difficult. I was the first black teacher there at McCulloch School. Later on that same year, they did hire Mary Alice Turner, another lady, for kindergarten. But we were the first blacks, and we had some very, very difficult days. So I did not enjoy my first year at all.
But looking back, being a self-motivated kid or coming from an environment where you had encouragement, looking back in hindsight, what was the key to those kids' downfall, the problem kids' downfall, and how could those problems have been easily addressed?
Well, I think that, walk a mile in my shoes. And I kind of figured that many of those teachers that they had in the past had never walked a mile in those children's shoes. They did not understand the homes for which they came. They did not understand the environment in which those children lived. Children had problems that were special to them. The teachers had never experienced those kind of problems. They did not know how to handle the children, how to reason, how to work with them, and how to really know how the children had been neglected.